It's making, some of those courses that would have been roadblocks, trying to remove the roadblock intentionally. And the goal is to do it proactively, not Johnny is really struggling in geometry, so therefore let's take it out of his schedule. It's more so like, let's look at Johnny's long-term goals. Could he take a construction class where he's having to apply geometry and count that for that requirement?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Brighter Together podcast. My name is Janet Courtney, and my guest today is Abrianne Castaneda. Abrianne is the Educational Support Service Director at Calvin Christian High School in Granville, Michigan. Abrianne, it's great to have you here today.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit, Abrianne, about your role and about Calvin Christian.
So Calvin Christian is a district in Granville, Michigan. We partner with the public school for some support services, so Granville Public Schools. We have a relatively small student body in comparison to some other larger Christian schools in the area, like Grand Rapids Christian. So we have about 350 odd students at the high school level.
Nice.
I am the Educational Support Services Director. So what that means is I support students who have either received a history of receiving support in their K-8 education, or more than likely have a diagnosed disability of sorts.
Nice. Yeah. So you're a private school.
Yes. Yeah, we are a private school, Christian school. West Michigan has a lot of private schools in this area, a lot of Christian schools, but I would say what sets us apart, I would say we're more mid-sized, but we are able to offer, I think, some really good support services for students who need that. We do that via staffing. We make it a priority. In fact, that we just hired another response to intervention teacher at the elementary level, who's going to do like RTI work. So giving interventions, and that's a lot of Christian schools in our area don't have those intervention supports like the publics do. And so I'm kind of excited that we have that going for us.
Yeah, that's impressive. I'm good for you guys that you provide that. I know a lot of times Christian schools don't do it because it's expensive, because they cost so much more. And when you're talking, mandated, it's not mandated for private schools. IDA doesn't apply to private institutions. So and I don't know if everybody knows that. I think most of our audience would know that IDA is about funding, and all of that comes because the funding comes from the federal government. They have to provide those services, but you guys are doing it and you're not required to. So that is, and so does it cost more? Do you charge more for those services for parents that bring students with special needs?
We actually don't. And I would say that that's something that also sets us apart. Some of the other Christian schools in our area might charge extra for tutoring or any extra support services that they would need. We also, at the high school level, I'm pretty proud of our MTSS support. So we have tiered supports that we give to all students. We have a student support team that's a multidisciplinary team comprised of administration, school counselors, myself. We have another special ed teacher at our building. She's an inclusion director. So she primarily supports students who are certificate of completion and vocational bound. She's on the team, as well as some gen ed teacher representatives. And so we meet weekly and we talk about kind of the needs of the building as a whole. We have a list that we generate based on teacher comments as well as grades based. And then we meet to discuss, and if we need, make intervention plans for those students. And then we follow back up on those plans in increments, 3 weeks, 6 weeks, to make sure they're having success. So that's something else that we do that not many Christian schools have going.
Yeah. Multi-tiered system of support is such a critical program. And so, wow, that's fantastic. So in that program, are you mostly addressing social emotional, or are you, what kinds of programs are you dealing with inside of the MTSS program?
I would say at our level, mostly academic
Okay.
and curriculum-based measurements is what we're really using. We do have a school social worker, which is another really cool thing that we have.
Yeah.
She's counselor slash social worker.
Mm-hmm.
So she does provide some social emotional updates and supports as well. But where I would like to see us grow in the years is doing more behavioral interventions and support. I would say that's one RTI area that we haven't really started to do a lot with. And thankfully, we haven't needed to really. We've done
Mm-hmm.
some individual behavior plans as needed or um, break plans for certain students, but we haven't had to really go through, you know, positive behavior supports at the
Right.
secondary level.
Yeah. Wow. That's fantastic. So, do you provide all of the related services like speech and OT and PT, those kinds of things? I know you've talked about social work, but I'm curious about the others.
Yep.
Probably,
So for ancillary supports, if our students
there you
need
go.
those OT, PT, speech, we do partner with the public school. So we
Gotcha.
have
Okay.
what we call a non-public school service plan for those students, and then they are getting those supports here at Calvin, but through Granville Public's support people. And that can be, we like that, but it can be problematic sometimes with scheduling because our
Yeah.
schedules don't always jive. As you probably can imagine, they have large caseloads they're trying to manage, and so it isn't always as maybe frequent or long lasting as we would hope. But
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But that's incredible. I mean, you've got a lot of flexibility, that a public school wouldn't have. So, how does that play into how you guys do things?
yeah, that's a good point. In some ways, it's an incredible blessing. It is hard, though, to quantify like who could and should get supports versus who doesn't. There's very clear criteria in a public school of how
For
to
sure.
qualify kids.
Right. Hmm.
And more often than not, we're finding kids aren't meeting through the public, aren't meeting criteria for them to
Right.
continue receiving support or continuing to get reevaluations. But for us, it really is up to our teams to decide who qualifies. Many of our students get their evaluations done privately through other outside agencies, doctor's offices, counseling centers. We can partner with the public to get evaluations done. It just is a little bit more tricky going that.
Hmm.
We
Yeah.
also have an agency called All Belong that we partner with. So they provide support for private schools in this area. And we have I think, a package that we purchase that has teacher consulting part of it and evaluations are part of that too. I think we get 5 per district a year, but the elementary uses the majority of those,
Right.
which
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
sense.
There's a big difference between being supported by somebody who's walked in your shoes and someone who hasn't. At Lighthouse Therapy, our leadership team is made up of experienced clinicians who've actually worked in schools. We understand the pressure you're under and what real support looks like. That's why our therapy solutions, whether it be virtual, hybrid, or in person, are built with you in mind. No complicated systems or red tape, just streamlined support and seasoned therapists who are ready to make a difference. Learn more at lighthouse-therapy.com/brighter together. Yeah, because they're coming with, and I'm sure your RTI and MTSS at the elementary and middle school is different than what you're doing at the high
Mhm.
school for sure.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and you said, so you do have a certificate program and then some of your students are on a graduation track as well.
Yep. Yep.
Neat.
So primarily the students that I support, actually, I would say nearly all are going graduation track. And that we're starting to utilize personal curriculums, which is something that the public schools are also starting to utilize. It's been around for a while, but even when I've gone to personal curriculum trainings and meetings at our ISD, I wouldn't say we're any farther behind than any publics in getting them rolling. Like everyone's kind of trying to figure out how do
Yeah.
we use these? And I think the tricky part is how do you quantify it and
Hmm.
how do you put a limit on what kinds of courses or how many courses you can omit to still meet Michigan merit to feel good about your
Yeah.
diploma,
Right.
basically. So
Yeah.
we've started a personal curriculum team that meets once a year. And right now we've primarily used them to excuse foreign language. That's really just how we've started to utilize it. And most of the kids were using it for second year foreign language um, because we can count our Career Tech Center, our CTE credit for that, or extra VPAA credit, visual and performing applied arts. So we don't always need to go that route of doing a personal curriculum. But I'm hoping in the upcoming year and years that we start to expand how we use those, because I feel like particularly in the math requirements with algebra, geometry, and algebra 2,
Mm.
that could be it for some kids. Just that could be the definition between getting a diploma and not getting a diploma. And so I'm
Right.
hoping we can utilize personal curriculums more.
So explain to me a little bit more in depth and for our listener, what would be what a personal curriculum actually is.
Yeah, so it's something that like I said, the publics have had available for a while. It it goes through by content area. So you've got your world languages, your math requirement, your science, your social studies, your language arts. And in a personal curriculum, you're looking first and foremost at the students' post-secondary goals, because you never want to do anything in
Right.
high school that's going to jeopardize their future after high school. So we
Absolutely.
start there. And
Mm-hmm.
if a student has got, really incredible post-secondary goals, let's say they, want to be a surgeon, and they're going to need math and science. We certainly don't want to take that out of their high school
Right. Right.
experience.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes when you're looking at those post-secondary goals, the hope for a personal curriculum is that they're taking courses that better align with where they are now and where they want to go. It really is very open-ended to how we can use them. It really is whatever the district feels comfortable with. So
Mm-hmm.
because it's so open-ended, that's what's making it hard to say, okay, well, what can we allow? What do we feel good about? You could even modify like essential standards within a course. So you could,
Mm-hmm.
um, in Algebra 2, they're going to do these standards instead of these standards. But then practicality of how to carry that out, how do you assess? What are they doing? When other
Mm-hmm.
kids are doing this? Like the logistics of that are what we're kind of trying to figure out. How can we do this?
Right.
But
So
I'm
it's
excited that we're talking about it.
yeah, and it's basically when you talk about an IEP, it's like an IEP for graduation, kind of like an
Yeah,
individualized educational plan for a child to get them through to graduate. That's really, really neat. That's
exactly. It's making, some of those courses that would have been roadblocks, trying to remove the roadblock intentionally. And the
right,
goal is to do it proactively, not, Johnny really struggling in geometry, so therefore let's take it out of his schedule. It's more so like, let's look at Johnny's long-term goals. Could he take a construction class where he's having to apply geometry and count that for
right.
that requirement?
Right. Yeah, that's really good. That's really, really good. It's talked to some people who do similar things where they've applied it to the entire curriculum and had and then they have to do some like it's all project based, like they're
Mm-hmm.
they're what they're learning, how the kids are learning and stuff. And then when they start getting them ready at the high school level for careers, then they have to kind of go, okay, that's great, you learn, you are a critical thinker, you have those higher level functioning skills, but now we have to apply that to what's going to happen in college. So it's kind of the reverse. They're doing a reverse engineering, making sure the kids are ready for college too. So it's
I can
really
see that.
interesting. Yeah. Yeah, and it's something that I'm seeing. I think we're seeing more and more of, let's talk about what that child needs instead of what are the standards that they have to meet in order to graduate from high school. So,
Exactly. And in
yeah.
theory, you can use it not just to, um, remedialize or to omit courses, but you could even use it for a kid who's on a fast track who needs
Oh,
extra
yeah.
courses. You could use it for gifted kind of
Mm-hmm.
programs as well. We're just starting to dip our toe into it.
Right. Yeah. And my as a speech therapist, I always go to the special education side, but there is always the side of we want to make sure that our gifted and talented kids have that opportunity as well. So that's fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic. So one last question I always try to ask all of my podcast guests before we finish out the recording, and that is if you could miraculously, and you can't say money's not an option. If you could miraculously solve one challenge in your school, what would you want to solve?
That's a really good question. I feel like we have a lot of good things going for our school. I'm really proud of where I work. I love my administration. I love their leadership and support. I love how we can talk about God and grow in a Christian community together. So that's
Nice.
awesome. I like how supportive our teachers are. I've never worked with a staff that collaborates so well. We really care about each other. But I would say for my particular role, what I would love is more support staff. So maybe money could help me hire support staff.
Yeah.
But I would love just to go deeper and be able to provide even another tier of support, having extra help.
Yeah.
I would love to have another full-time hired person. I think that would be great.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's reasonable. I get that.
Yeah.
I totally get that. Well, Abrianne, this has been such a great conversation. Thank you so much for sharing what's happening in your school and your passion for your students, because it's evident that you care. And we try, I always love talking to people where it just shines through that you care about your children that are coming to you, that God's bringing to you, right?
Exactly.
That's the best part. So where should people go if they want to learn more about Calvin Christian High School in Granville, Michigan? So
we have an awesome marketing team, but I would say just going to our school website would be what I would suggest. Actually, let me pull that up. So I can tell you the right website, because I just go right to it. So gosquires.org is what people could go to.
Nice. Very nice. Well, again, thank you for your time today. Thank you for being here and talking about the things that are happening, because, and in the Brighter Together podcast, the whole reason we talk about Brighter Together podcast is because we really are brighter together. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.